From one dad to another, happy Father's Day weekend inside your radio, outside the barrel. It is Flint Rasmussen.
Happy to have my next guest on the show to add to a list today of greatness. That's what we like to call this show, our little hour of greatness. He's a keynote speaker for business and ag. I called him in the promo, and I call him now, an ag advocate for the ag world. That's a new title. It's my new friend, Damian Mason. Do you like your new title, Advocate for the Ag World, Damian? Does that sound good to you?
Hey, Flint, anything that you call me, I'm going to answer to, so whatever. Advocate for the ag world. I'll take it.
That's my own. You can use that. You're pretty familiar with the ag world. You're kind of out towards the eastern part of the country. Grew up on a dairy farm, though, right?
That's the fact. So my background is I was raised on an Indiana dairy farm. I own a farm, a couple hundred acres. It's 2 miles north of the property where I was raised. My 88-year-old mother still lives on the home farm. I haven't milked cows there since 1995. I do have one of my brothers that was still dairying until just a couple years ago at a different property. So, yeah, I'm an ag guy. I'm a farm boy. My grandfather milked cows as a herdsman. My father grew up milking cows for other people and then bought the first farm owned by a Mason in the United States of America. So that's it. I've got a brother that works for the USDA. I'm sorry, he's employed by the USDA.
Okay, yeah, employed by. That's better. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the story. I'm a farm guy. I do a lot of speeches to agricultural groups all around North America, and I have a degree in agricultural economics, and then I have my property here. So I'm an ag guy. I keep up with the issues, as you well saw.
Yes.
And I think our big problem is we got a lot of people that they like our food. They like to have opinions about our food, and they're so far removed from it, they kind of want to control what happens without real any understanding of why it happens.
Yeah. Don't you find, when I was reading some of your stuff, and I've thought about this, and agriculture, we need to almost be, and I say we because, I'm not a farmer or rancher. We raise horses and do some things, but it's a little like the entertainment business in that times change and you have to change to stay relevant. Now, whether your process in ag changes, are we falling behind in letting people know this is how things work, this is how it's supposed to be? Are we not changing to stay relevant in this changing world of ours, if that makes sense?
Flint, we're staying relevant because we are still a viable business, meaning we're not completely out of touch to where we're out here producing something that has no demand. In fact, we've done a pretty good job. We need to do even more of embracing the foodie movement. I've made the point to my audiences when I do these speeches, like the internet and the foodie movement has made it to where now a rancher in eastern Montana that 30 years ago was pretty far removed from mainstream population sentiments now can raise Scottish Highland long-haired beef, petted by his daughter named Emily, blessed by a rabbi, grass-fed, and read fairy tales to a foodie in Boston, and that could be a viable business. Whereas, 5, 10, certainly 25 years ago, you'd be like, you hear about this old kook that's out here raising Scottish Highlands, petted by his daughter, blessed by a rabbi, grass-fed. So the point is, we've got a real opportunity where this industry can make money in small niches that we did not have, and that's because of the internet and the foodie movement. So I don't think that we've lost relevance. What we maybe are doing, Flint, is we still think about it like the factory. We think about it like production, and our consumer doesn't value production. They value story, and they value their feelings.
Is, a hot topic, speaking of the food movement, GMOs. And I hear GMOs all the time, they're genetically modified stuff. I went on a site earlier today, and it was all against GMOs and how bad it is. But really, man, like we always like to say, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Really, they want us to produce more on less land, but then are anti-GMOs. Where's the fact? Where are we getting confused here? Or who's pumping out wrong or right facts?
Yeah, the issue here is real simple. there is a group that is to benefit by us not using genetically engineered food crops, and that would be the Organic Food Union, the Organic Trade Association, organic food producers and marketers and sellers. They make better premiums, et cetera, et cetera. And, if if a consumer is against this, that's fine. That is their right. You can be you said you have horses. You can be a Palomino person and hate, Arabians.
Sure.
But whatever the issue is, it's sad that it's become such a hot-button debate out of ignorance perpetuated through fear. And when you think about the average suburban person, you're from Montana or Idaho, and I'm from Indiana, and I'm around these people all the time that are ag folks. We must remember that, California has 33 million people, and 32 of those million people live in the population centers and are not around this. And think about the Phoenixes, where I live part-time, or Chicago. Those people go to Whole Foods, and there's a protester in a hazmat suit saying, GMOs are killing you, kill Monsanto.
Yeah.
So that's their information.
That's it. Yeah. Listen, I got to take a quick break, but of all the things I want to talk about, I'd like to, after the break, talk about pig wrestling. How's that sound? Can we do that?
I'd love to talk about pig wrestling.
Oh, there is nothing better than talking about pig wrestling. Damian Mason's with me. You are talking agriculture, preservation of agriculture, everything. Honestly, we're going to talk about some wackos. Good to take a break outside the barrel after this.
Inside your radio, rural radio, Sirius XM, channel 147, outside the barrel. It's Flint, Rasmussen.
Happy Father's Day weekend, everybody, in case I forget, much like I did for the first half of this show. Damian Mason with me. We're talking some agriculture, some business in agriculture, opportunities, interesting stuff. Damian, is pig wrestling inhumane? Because I read it on the internet, and it must be true, right?
Yeah, the people that push this, I just saw one today that said pigs are more intelligent than dogs and the most abused animal on earth. And I thought, well, first off, does eating something mean that it's abused? And secondly, where's the intelligence issue come in? It comes in because what our advocates want to do, the people that oppose everything from rodeo to leather pants to cowboy boots to eggs and bacon on your plate, they realize they can't use the old arguments. They used to take a picture of a veal calf and say, this poor calf never sees the sunlight, and everybody felt bad. Well, first off, veal production's changed, and it's going away quite a bit as well. Mm-hmm. So they have to then say, okay, these animals, the angles they take are abuse, intelligence, and environment. Huh. And the abuse thing is where they're going with this hog thing, and then they're going to push that it's intelligent, and they're going to push that pigs are, bad for the environment. Meat eating is bad for the environment. So on the pig wrestling thing, it's the idea that it's being mistreated. This is a 200-pound pig that 4 kids are out there slopping around the mud, and they're going to pick it up and put it on top of a barrel 4 inches off the ground or something like this. Come on. What are we really? You and I both understand that this pig's not being abused. There are children in America's homes right now that are being abused. We still have a lot of issues like that on the human front. But the animal activists are beyond radical and completely irrational, so they seek to humanize the animals. So they use anthropomorphism. They put images out there of these poor pigs talking like humans, that kind of thing. Anyway, your thoughts, and I'll tell you a couple things about that after you tell me your thoughts.
Well, I guess, I always think, do the pigs sit around afterwards and have a conversation about, boy, as intelligent as we are? I can't believe those humans did that. But here's, you mentioned it in passing, and what they do is they talk about the environment and the conditions. What really, my latest real thing that rubs me wrong is I look out my west window of my home every morning, and I see Angus cattle grazing on green grass, drinking out of Muddy Creek. That's what runs through my place. But constantly they're bringing out what it takes to raise meat and how hard that is on the environment. And I can't buy it, Damian. I'm struggling with what I see firsthand. I'm struggling with the global warming thing from cow farts. It's just getting to me.
I did a program. I've done speeches for the National Pork Board, and what these folks are really way off base on is, first off, just let's talk about the pigs, for instance. We're more efficiently putting pounds of pork on America's table and on the world's table than we ever have. It's something like 33% less inputs just in the last 20 years, meaning we're making pigs more efficient, we're utilizing facilities more efficiently. This glamorous vision that everybody has of old MacDonald or Ma and Pa Kettle out there with the pigs and the chickens and the cows and the old MacDonald E-I-E-I-O, I mean, that never really existed. And when it did exist, it was not efficient, nor was it good for the environment. This pig thing is it's crazy. So the angle that the activists take is that they want you to not have meat on your plate, but they're going to start by something that they think is egregious, that there's people out here wrestling around with a pig.
Huh. Well, yeah. Well, there's statistics that float statistics about how much water it takes to produce a pound of beef, even. And I guess I'm not sure how that's relevant. That it seems like an alarming figure, but like what I say, when the cattle are drinking running water, I'm not sure how a cow drinking out of that running water actually affects the environment. I think it's a moot point. I think that it's a alarmist stat that gets to people in the city that have to watch their water. Maybe I'm completely off base, but that one really gets me. What it takes to produce a pound of beef, I don't buy it.
Of course, you're not way off base. I mean, not only are you a good dancer, but you're pretty good at articulating the point. so here's what I think we need to go with. Here's a real simple statement, because ag always fights our battles wrong. First off, they keep talking about how we use water to produce beef. We use water to produce milk. Water is not a finite resource. The only water that leaves Earth is on the space shuttle. Water is always here. It's a hydrologic cycle. They taught it to us as kids. Water, evaporation, transpiration, precipitation. That's what we're talking about. The water thing is a moot point. I think, though, that the average American does not understand science. As I point out, Flint, we got 26% of Americans that don't know Earth revolves around the sun. A National Science Foundation poll found that 2 years ago. So we can't talk about the hydrologic cycle. What we need to do instead is make it about choice. These animal radicals, let's use the word radicals, are trying to control what you and your family eat, what you and your family do for entertainment, what you and your family wear. That's the angle, because then it gets to self-interest and it gets away from science. And science will always lose to self-interest because we have a populace that doesn't understand the science. They want you to not be able to go to the rodeo. They want you to not be able to own horses. They want you to not be able to eat steak. They want you to not be able to have eggs in the morning with your children. They want you to not be able to wear leather shoes, not have a wool sweater. That's what the animal radicals are trying to do. By starting with pig wrestling, they'll ultimately work it toward your dinner plate in your closet. That argument works, and people comprehend it.
Huh. Don't take away my leather pants. That's all I know. Just leave my leather pants out of this. Listen, Damian, there's so much. I want you, a couple things. I got to let you go, but a couple things. For number one, I need you to you're in the rotation now, if that's okay, on the show.
Well, does that mean I have to write bulls, or I have to come on your radio show? Because one I can do more easily than the other.
No, I'll just make it easy on you. All you got to do is pick up your phone when we need you. How's that sound?
I'd love to be on your show on a weekly basis. We can talk about this some more. I'm happy to give your listeners something to consider on the rights of animals versus the rights of the activists that are trying to control what you eat. And we didn't even go down. Hey, I'm out here on the farm. We got our crops growing. Best argument for GMOs, I say, hey, you're against genetically modified crops? Yes, I am. I say, great. I've got 100 acres of soybeans and a hoe. Come out here, I'll put you to work.
We all need a hoe in our lives once in a while, tell you that. You know what? We didn't even get to, I do want to talk in the near future about you and I. We've both found our niche. There's a niche there in the entertainment business in rural America, and you and I have found it. We should be proud of ourselves, Damian.
Well, I'm proud of my business that I built. I quit my job 22 years ago this next month. 22 years ago, I started out as a Bill Clinton impersonator, farm boy, salesman, Bill Clinton impersonator, and morphed into being a comedy and commentary guy for agriculture. You know, you and I are out here talking to a small segment of the population, really, in a country of 320 million people, but they're great people, and they're good people to be in front of, and it's provided me a nice living. So, yeah, I deliver comedy and commentary to ag crowds. By the way, you can tell your folks, DamianMason.com, or follow me on Twitter at Damian P. Mason. They can find me on Facebook, Damian Mason, that's Damian, Mason like a bricklayer.
You got it. Listen, I'll probably get in trouble for going long, so I got to let you go. But before I go, could you give me something about Flint Rasmussen's Outside the Barrel as Bill Clinton? Can you do that for me?
The thing is, I don't have much to do anymore because I'm no longer the President of the United States. So what I love to do is I just tune in every Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern, and I listen to my buddy Flint Rasmussen on Outside the Barrel. He feels your pain.
Man, I hope we recorded that. That's my new promo. Bill Clinton. Man. Listen, Damian, great to...
You need it again, we can shoot it again.
You bet. Damian, great to talk to you. Let's do this again very soon. It's nice to get acquainted with you, and I appreciate all your opinions, and so does everybody listening here. Let's talk soon, okay?
Thanks, Flint.
You got it. Damian Mason. I got to take a quick break. We're going to wrap up the hour right after this.